crude oil futures rose for a fourth consecutive session today as investors covered short positions, though worries over a festering supply glut kept a lid on prices. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were up 12 cents at $43.50 per barrel. Brent crude futures gained 15 cents to $45.97 per barrel. The market is up slightly so far this week after dropping for the past 5 weeks. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its partners have been trying to reduce a global crude glut with production cuts. OPEC states and 11 other exporters agreed in May to extend cuts of 1.8 million barrels per day until March. However, Nigeria and Libya, OPEC members exempt from the cuts, have raised output. Iran was allowed a small increase to recover market share lost under Western sanctions over its nuclear program. It said its production has surpassed 3.8 million barrels per day and is expected to reach 4 million barrels per day by March. And the precious metal market now. Gold held steady today, supported by an easing dollar, with investors looking to a speech later in the day by Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen for clues on the outlook for U.S. monetary policy. Yellen is scheduled to take part in a discussion on global economic issues at London's Royal Academy. She will likely reiterate the central bank's positive views about the U.S. economy and the Fed's stance of raising interest rates once more this year. Spot gold had risen 0.1% to $1,244 per ounce. It hit a near 6-week low of $1,236 in the previous session. U.S. gold futures for August delivery fell 0.1% to $1,245 per ounce. On Monday, gold tumbled to its lowest since price in nearly 6 weeks as a large sell order hit sentiment, though losses were limited by political uncertainty around the world. We're still on commodities matters, but here in Africa, South Africa's Chamber of Mines has applied to a high court for an interdict to prevent the implementation of a new charter that increases the minimum threshold for black ownership of mining companies. The Chamber says a court application to have the new mining charter reviewed in terms of the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act will follow in due course. In the meantime, Mines Minister says those opposed to the mining charter are opposing transformation. And the Democratic Republic of Congo has raised its key interest rate to 20% from 14% as it sought to stabilize its volatile franc currency. The Congolese franc has lost half of its value against the dollar over the past year due to low tax revenues from foreign investors and high government deficits. The bank last adjusted rates in February. The economy of Congo, Africa's top copper producer, has been hit hard by low commodity prices over the last 2 years that have reduced government revenues. The central bank said this month it expects economic growth of 3.1% this year, with year-end inflation on track to reach 33.12%, up from 25.04% in 2016, as the franc continues to lose ground against the dollar. The International Monetary Fund's Executive Board has approved a $666 million 3-year extended credit facility for Cameroon to support economic and financial reforms. The nations of Central Africa's CEMAC currency union have struggled in the face of low oil prices, which have slashed state revenues. Cameroon has also been forced to concentrate resources on combating the threat of Islamist Boko Haram militants along its northwestern border with Nigeria. The board's decision allows for the immediate disbursement of $171 million as part of a program aimed at restoring fiscal and external sustainability and unlocking private sector-driven growth. The IMF approved a similar $642 million loan agreement for Cameroon's neighbor Gabon after another CEMAC member state last week. And in Kenya, the ruling Jubilee Party has pledged to transform the East Africa's largest economy into a middle-income nation by 2022 by boosting investment in public infrastructure and technology and offering increased financing for small businesses. President Uhuru Kenyatta's party also says it will increase the number of poor and elderly receiving free health care and offer free education to some primary and secondary public school students. The number of elderly receiving state grants will be doubled to 1.4 million, and the government would create 1.3 million jobs every year. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the economy generated 832,900 jobs last year, 85,600 of them in the formal sector. Kenyatta's administration pledged to maintain a stable macroeconomic environment and sensible policies that will support strong economic growth, ensure price stability, maintain debts at sustainable levels, create wealth, and reduce inequalities. And Tanzania's current account deficit halved in the year to April, helped by a decline in imports and surge in tourism and gold export earnings. The central bank, in its monthly economic report, says the trade gap narrowed to $1.6 billion from $3.21 billion in the previous 12-month period. Earnings from tourism, the main foreign exchange earner, rose slightly, buoyed by more visitor arrivals. Foreign exchange reserves rose to $4.4 billion in the year to April from $3.8 billion previously, equivalent to about 4 months of import covers. Tanzania's 2017 economic growth is now seen at 7.1% from a previous projection of 7.4%, cooled by slowing private sector credit growth and public spending cuts. A Nigerian-born president of the Africa Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, has been named the 2017 World Food Prize laureate. The announcement was made in Washington by President of the Halls of Laureates for World Food Prize, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn. With the selection, Dr. Adesina becomes the 46th recipient and 6th African to be so honored. The prestigious $250,000 prize is given annually to an individual for the advancement of human development and food security. Dr. Adesina was Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture under the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan.